The call to Earth took 3 hours to arrange. Security protocols had to be established, translation systems tested, and a dozen diplomatic channels opened. Minho sat in the ship's communication room, watching technicians work while his stomach churned with worry. Finally, the connection established. His mother's face appeared on the main screen, but this time she was not alone. Behind her stood 2 Earth Council representatives, and she was dressed formally in traditional Korean clothing rather than her usual simple dress. "Hello, Minho," Sora said. Her voice was calm, but Minho could see the tension in her shoulders. "I hear the galaxy wants to talk to me." "Mom, I am so sorry." "If I had known," she waved his apology away. "You did nothing wrong. This was always going to come out eventually. Secrets like this never stay buried forever, no matter how deep you put them." She looked past Minho to where Hyunwoo and Eunja stood. "I have been briefed on the situation. The Galactic Council wants me to testify?" "Yes, ma'am," Hyunwoo confirmed. "They want to hear directly from someone who was there. Someone who can explain what happened and why humanity chose peace. And if I refuse, then tensions will continue to escalate. Some species are already mobilizing military forces. They are afraid." Sora was quiet for a moment. Minho knew that look on her face. She was thinking, weighing options, making calculations. It was the same expression she wore when deciding what to cook for dinner or which vegetables to plant in her garden. Simple decisions and galaxy-shaping choices, all given the same careful consideration. "When do they want me?" she asked finally. "As soon as possible." "Tomorrow, if you can make the journey." "Tomorrow." Sora smiled slightly. "Always in a rush, you young species. 50,000 years and you still have not learned patience." She straightened her clothing. "Very well. I will come. But I have conditions." "What conditions?" "First, I speak in Korean. They can use translators. I'm too old to worry about speaking Galactic Common for hours." She held up a second finger. "Second, I want my daughter-in-law there with me. She is better at handling formal occasions than I am." Minho blinked. "You want Gina to come?" "She is family. And she is much better at staying calm when people are being ridiculous. You get that from me, Minho, the tendency to get frustrated with idiots. Gina has patience." "We can arrange that," Hyunwoo said quickly. "Third," Sora continued, "I want a written guarantee that no matter what happens at this council meeting, Earth will not face military action for at least 1 standard year. Give the galaxy time to calm down and think rationally. We cannot guarantee what other species will do. Then I do not come." Sora's voice was firm. "I am tired of fighting. If the galaxy wants war, they can have it, but they will have it without me trying to stop it. I will only help if there is a genuine chance for peace." Hyunwoo and Yoonji exchanged glances. "We will do our best," Yoonji said. "I cannot promise a full guarantee, but we can work with the council leadership to establish a cooling-off period." "Good enough." Sora nodded. "Send me the travel details. I need to pack." "Mom," Minho said softly. "Are you sure about this?" She looked at him through the screen, and for just a moment Minho saw something ancient in her eyes. Something that had seen empires rise and fall, that had walked through the ruins of civilizations, that had carried the weight of billions of deaths. Then she smiled, and she was just his mother again. "I am sure. Someone needs to explain things to these frightened children. It might as well be me." The call ended. Minho sat back in his chair, feeling exhausted. "Your mother is remarkable," Yoonji said quietly. "I fought beside her, 50,000 years ago. She was terrifying then. But what impressed me most was what came after. She was one of the strongest voices arguing for peace when the wars ended. She never talks about those times. None of us do. The weight of what we did." Yoonji trailed off. "It is better to grow gardens and raise families. Better to forget." But now the galaxy would not let them forget. The next day, a diplomatic transport arrived at Earth and collected Sora, along with Gina and a small team of Earth Council representatives. The journey to the Galactic Council chambers took another day. During that time, tensions continued to rise across known space. More species closed their borders to human travelers. Military buildups were reported in 3 different sectors. There were incidents. A human merchant ship was fired upon near the Quillari homeworld, though no one was killed. A group of humans living on a Thornian colony world had to be evacuated when angry mobs surrounded their neighborhood. And through it all, the news networks broadcast constant speculation about what the first destroyer would say. Would she threaten the galaxy? Would she reveal more secrets? Would humanity finally show its true, violent nature? Minho waited in an observation room above the main council chamber. Yuna sat beside him, both of them watching the massive circular hall fill with representatives from hundreds of species. The chamber could hold 10,000 beings, and every seat was filled. Billions more watched via broadcast. "There she is," Yuna whispered. The main doors opened. Sora walked in, accompanied by Gina and Hyunwoo. She looked tiny in the massive chamber, a small elderly woman in traditional Korean dress walking slowly because her knees bothered her. She did not look like the most feared warrior in galactic history. She looked like someone's grandmother. The chamber erupted in noise. Some species shouted questions. Others made threatening gestures. A few simply fled, their instincts overriding their curiosity. Sora waited patiently for the noise to die down. When it did not, she simply walked to the central podium and tapped the microphone. The sound echoed through the chamber, and slowly, silence fell. "Thank you," she said in Korean. The translators immediately began converting her words into hundreds of languages. "I am Sora Kim. I am 78 years old. I live on Earth. I grow vegetables. I make kimchi. And yes, 50,000 years ago, I was the soldier you call the first destroyer." More noise, but she spoke over it. "I'm not proud of what I did back then. I killed billions. I destroyed worlds. I ended civilizations. I carry those deaths with me every day." Her voice was steady, matter-of-fact. "But I need you to understand why it happened. So I'm going to tell you a story." The chamber quieted. Everyone wanted to hear this story, even if they were terrified of the storyteller. 50,000 years ago, my daughter lived on a colony world called Haven. Sora's voice cracked slightly on the word daughter. Her name was Myra. She was 6 years old. She loved drawing pictures and singing songs and collecting interesting rocks. She wanted to be a pilot when she grew up. Minho felt his breath catch. His mother had never mentioned this. Never talked about having other children before him. When the old empires found Haven, they killed everyone, including Myra, including my daughter. Sora's hands gripped the podium. So yes, I went to war. I put on armor and I picked up weapons and I killed the people who killed my child. And I did not stop until every world that had supported those empires was burning. The chamber was absolutely silent now. That is what I was. A mother who lost her child and became something terrible in the name of revenge. Sora looked around at the thousands of faces watching her. But revenge did not bring Myra back. It did not heal anything. It just made more mothers lose more children. And when I finally understood that, when I saw what I had become, I took off my armor and I swore I would never kill again. She straightened her shoulders. I have kept that promise for 50,000 years. I grew gardens. I raised new children. I lived quietly. And I was happy, because peace made me happier than violence ever did. Sora's eyes swept across the council chamber. Now you are all afraid of me. Afraid of what I represent. Afraid that humanity will go to war again. And I understand that fear. I carry it too. Every day I fear that I might slip back into being what I was. She paused. But fear alone will not protect you. If you attack humanity because you are afraid, you will create exactly what you fear. You will give us a reason to fight. You will make us into the monsters you think we are. Is that really what you want? No one answered. I am here to tell you that humanity does not want war. We are tired. We have been tired for longer than most of your civilizations have existed. We just want to live in peace. to grow gardens and raise families and explore the stars without anyone trying to kill us. That is all we have ever wanted. Sora stepped back from the podium. I will answer your questions now. Ask me anything. For a moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, a Quillari representative raised a trembling hand. How do we know you are telling the truth? They asked. How do we know humanity will not attack us? Sora smiled sadly. You do not know. You have to trust us. Just like we have to trust you not to attack us first. That is how peace works. It requires trust from everyone. Another representative stood, this one Thornian. What guarantee can you give us? What proof that humanity is safe? None, Sora said simply. I cannot prove a negative. I cannot prove we will not do something. All I can offer is our history. 200 years of humans living among you peacefully. 50,000 years of choosing not to conquer when we easily could have. That is our evidence. Judge us by our actions, not your fears. The questions continued for hours. Sora answered each one patiently, honestly, sometimes painfully. The message reached the Galactic Council within hours. Vexus sent his report through the fastest channels available, marked with the highest priority codes. By the time Minho and Yuna returned to the team's base ship, the galaxy was already beginning to panic. Emergency sessions were called on every major world. News networks broadcast constant updates. The revelation that humanity had been living among the galactic community for 2 centuries while hiding their true nature sent shockwaves through every civilization. Minho sat in his quarters aboard the base ship, watching the news feeds on his datapad. The reactions varied by species, but the fear was universal. A Thornian senator stood before cameras, all 4 of his arms gesturing wildly. We have welcomed these creatures into our homes, our workplaces, our schools. And all this time they were the first destroyers? The monsters who ended the old empires? This is an outrage. This is a betrayal. A Quillari newscaster spoke in rapid, frightened bursts. Military analysts say that if humanity possesses even a fraction of their old capabilities, they could overwhelm our combined fleets within weeks, possibly days. The question on everyone's mind is simple. Why have they not attacked yet? A Kelvorian religious leader addressed her followers with a trembling voice. The prophecies spoke of the destroyer's return. We thought they were myths, warnings to keep our children fearful of the dark. But the destroyer was never gone. They were simply sleeping. There were a few voices of reason. A human historian, a woman named Yunji, appeared on several broadcasts. She tried to explain the full context of the old wars, how the 3 empires had been genuinely terrible, how humanity's response had been provoked. But her voice was drowned out by the panic. Yuna entered Minho's quarters without knocking. She looked exhausted. Have you seen the latest? Which latest? There are 100 new developments every hour. She held up her own datapad. 3 species have closed their borders to human travelers. 5 more are considering it. The Thornian Empire is calling for an emergency vote to expel humanity from the Galactic Council. Minho rubbed his face. Have you talked to your family? My father called. He is worried. Says there are protests outside human neighborhoods on his world. Nothing violent yet, but people are afraid. Yuna sat down heavily on the chair beside Minho's bunk. Have you called your mother again? Twice. She keeps apologizing. Says she should have been more careful about where she left her old equipment. Minho managed a weak smile. She also says not to worry, that everything will be fine. How can she be so calm? Because she has lived for 50,000 years. She has seen civilizations rise and fall. This probably seems like a small problem to her. The ship's intercom crackled to life. All personnel report to the main briefing room immediately. Minho and Yuna exchanged glances, then headed to the briefing room. The rest of the team was already there, along with several people Minho did not recognize. 2 of them were human, wearing formal diplomatic clothes that marked them as representatives from Earth's government. The man stepped forward. He was tall and thin, with gray hair and tired eyes. I am Hyunwoo, diplomatic officer for the Earth Council. This is Yunji, our military historian. We have been sent to manage this situation. A little late for management, Vexus said coldly. The Thornian had not spoken to Minho or Yuna since they returned to the ship. The galaxy knows the truth now. Yes, they do, Yunwu agreed. And we need to control the narrative before things spiral further out of hand. Yunji stepped forward. She was older than Hyunwoo, her face weathered and her movements careful. Something about her reminded Minho of his mother. A certain quality in her eyes, like she had seen too much. I was there, Yunji said quietly. 50,000 years ago. I fought in the wars. The room went silent. I was part of the Third Fleet. I was at the fall of the Calvorian homeworld. I saw what the empires had done to our people, and I saw what we did in return. Yunji's voice was steady but heavy with old grief. Both sides committed terrible acts. But humanity has spent the last 50,000 years trying to atone for ours. By lying? Vexith challenged. By hiding? By choosing peace, Yunji corrected. We could have revealed ourselves at any time. We could have demanded respect, territory, resources. We had the power to take whatever we wanted. But we did not. We chose to be just another species among many. We chose to help build this new galactic civilization instead of dominating it, and we are supposed to just trust you? Asked one of the other team members, a nervous Aquilari named Piem. Trust that you will not change your minds? You have been trusting us for 200 years, Yunwu pointed out. Humans have lived among you all that time. We have been your friends, your partners, your colleagues. That has not changed. We are still the same people you knew yesterday. But now we know what you really are, Piem whispered. Yunji's expression hardened. What we really are? Let me tell you what we really are. We are engineers like Minho, who fixes broken equipment and helps excavate ancient sites. We are linguists like Yuna, who studies dead languages to preserve history. We are farmers and teachers and doctors and artists. Yes, we were warriors once. Yes, we have the capacity for terrible violence. But that is not all we are. It is not even what we choose to be. The Galactic Council wants proof, Vexith said. Proof that humanity is not a threat? What kind of proof? Minho asked. They want access to Earth's military records? They want inspections of any stored weapons. They want verification that humanity's current military is as limited as you claim. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. We expected this. Earth's government has already approved full transparency. We will open our records. We will allow inspections. We will prove that we are not preparing for war. And if some species still do not believe you? Vexith pressed. If they decide that the only way to feel safe is to eliminate humanity first? The question hung in the air like a threat, because it was a threat. Everyone in the room knew that there were species out there who would see humanity's revealed power as an existential danger. Some would argue for containment. Others would argue for preemptive strikes. Yunji's voice was cold when she answered. That would be a terrible mistake. Is that a threat? It is a fact. Humanity has spent 50,000 years trying to be good neighbors. We have tried very, very hard to never give anyone a reason to attack us. But if we are attacked, we will defend ourselves. And that defense would make the old wars look gentle. Vexith's skin darkened to near black. So we are back to threats? No, Hyunwoo interjected quickly. We are trying to explain reality. Nobody wants another war, especially not humanity. But we will not allow ourselves to be exterminated just because we make some species uncomfortable. Then what do you suggest? Dialogue, Hyunwoo said. Transparency, time. We need to show the galaxy that we are trustworthy. That we have been trustworthy all along. This panic will fade once people realize that nothing has actually changed. Everything has changed, Vexith said quietly. Before, we thought humans were just another young species, enthusiastic and helpful but ultimately insignificant. Now we know you are the most dangerous predators in galactic history, playing at being harmless. We are not playing, Yuna said firmly. Everyone turned to look at her. Commander, you have worked with Minho and me for 5 years. Have we ever been anything but honest with you? Anything but helpful? Anything but good colleagues? No, Vexith admitted. But you were lying about who you were. We were living our truth, Yuna corrected. The truth is that we are tired of war. The truth is that we want peace. Everything else is just history. Vexith was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he said, the Galactic Council has requested that a human representative appear before them to answer questions. Someone who was there during the old wars. Someone who can speak with authority about what humanity was and what humanity is now. We can send Yunji, Youngwoo said. No, they want someone specific. They want the first destroyer, Vexith looked at Minho. They want your mother. Minho felt his stomach drop. My mother is 78 years old. She has not left Earth in decades. She grows vegetables in her apartment. She also destroyed 3 civilizations, Vexith said. The Council wants to hear from her. They want to know if the most feared warrior in history really has given up violence. She has, Minho insisted. She hates what she did back then. Then let her tell the Council that herself. Yunwoo pulled out his communicator. I will contact Earth and make the request. But I cannot force her to come. It has to be her choice. Then make her understand how important this is, Vexith said. The galaxy is on the edge of panic. Some species are calling for a preemptive strike against Earth. Others want humanity quarantined. A few are already forming military alliances. We need someone to calm things down before this turns into a war none of us want. Minho thought about his mother in her small apartment, tending her plants, making kimchi, living a quiet life. The idea of dragging her back into the spotlight, forcing her to confront everything she had tried to forget, made him feel sick, but Vexith was right. The galaxy needed to hear from her. They needed to understand that the monster from their nightmares was just a tired old woman who wanted to be left alone. I will call her, Minho said quietly. I will explain the situation. The rest is up to her. Yuna held up her hands in a peaceful gesture, though her eyes never left Vexith's weapon. Please, Commander. Let us not do anything we will regret. I know this is shocking, but we can explain. Explain how your species has been lying to the entire galaxy for 200 years? Vexith's voice was cold and hard. The other team members had also drawn weapons now. Minho and Yuna were surrounded. Explain how humanity somehow forgot to mention they were the most terrifying warriors in history. We did not forget, Minho said. His throat was dry. We chose not to mention it. Why? Demanded Tixiel. The small Quillari was shaking, his orange skin fading to pale yellow with fear. Why would you hide something like this? Minho looked at Yuna. She nodded slightly. They had both known this might happen someday. Every human who left Earth's solar system was briefed about the old history, about what humanity had been before they chose peace. They were told to keep the secret, but they were also told that if the truth ever came out, to be honest, can I call my mother back? Minho asked. She can explain better than I can. No more calls, Vexith snapped. You talk now. Minho took a deep breath. 50,000 years ago, humans were not on Earth. We were spread across this entire galaxy. We had colonies on thousands of worlds. We were explorers, traders, and yes, we were warriors. The old empires, Yuna continued. The 3 civilizations that ruled this galaxy back then. You know them as the victims of the first destroyer. We knew them as slavers, conquerors, and murderers. Vexith's weapon did not lower. The records say those empires were advanced. Peaceful. The records were written by their descendants, Yuna interrupted. Of course, they would make their ancestors sound better than they were. But the truth is different. Those empires were brutal. They conquered every species they found. They practiced slavery on a scale you cannot imagine. And they were expanding, always expanding, looking for more worlds to control. And they found human colonies, Minho added quietly. One of their fleets discovered a small colony world called Haven. 5 million humans lived there. Farmers, mostly, families, children. The chamber was silent except for the sound of breathing in helmets. The Empire did not ask to negotiate, did not offer trade. They just attacked. Within 3 days, everyone on Haven was dead or enslaved. The children were... Minho stopped. Even 50,000 years later, even though he had not been there, the records of what happened to the children made him sick. The children were killed. All of them. So humanity responded, Yuna said. Her voice was flat, emotionless. And when humanity went to war back then, we did not fight for territory or resources. We fought for revenge. The 3 empires fell within a year, Minho continued. Not to one warrior, 2,000s. My mother, Sora, was part of what humans called the cleaning crews, soldiers who were sent to remove threats. She earned the nickname First Destroyer because she happened to arrive first at each of the 3 empire homeworlds. But she was not alone. There were thousands of other humans doing the same work across the galaxy. Billions died, Yuna said softly. Entire species went extinct. We did not just defeat those empires. We erased them. And when it was over, when we looked at what we had done, we were horrified. Vexith lowered his weapon slightly. You regretted winning? We regretted how we won, Minho corrected. We had become what we hated. We had killed so many innocent people along with the guilty. Entire planets were left as ruins. So we made a decision. Humanity gathered in council and we voted. Almost unanimous. We would stop what? Asked one of the other team members. Everything, Yuna answered. We deactivated our military. We sealed our weapons in vaults like this one. We erased most of our records from the galactic networks. And then we went home. Home? Earth, Minho explained. Our original homeworld. Most humans had never even seen it. It was just a legend to us, the planet where humanity first evolved. But it was still there, waiting. So we went back. 15 billion humans returned to one solar system and decided to start over. For 50,000 years? Vexith sounded skeptical. For 50,000 years, Yuna confirmed. We lived quietly. We developed new technology, but we kept it peaceful. We explored our own solar system. We built habitats and stations. And we tried very hard to forget what we had been. Some humans stayed behind, Minho added. Scattered across the galaxy. They changed their names, their identities. They integrated into other species' societies. There are probably still thousands of them out there, living normal lives, and no one knows what they used to be. Tixel's translator was having trouble keeping up with his rapid speech. But when humans rejoined galactic society 200 years ago, you said you were new to space travel. You said you had just developed faster-than-light engines. We lied, Yuna said simply. Because we looked at the new galactic civilization and we saw something beautiful. Hundreds of species working together peacefully. Trading, sharing knowledge, helping each other. It was everything we had wanted when we fought the old empires. And we did not want to ruin it by telling everyone that the monsters from their nightmares were back. So you just pretended to be primitive? Vexith asked. You have been playing dumb for 2 centuries? We have been trying to fit in, Minho corrected. And it worked. Humans serve on galactic ships. We work in research stations. We teach in universities. We run restaurants on 100 worlds. We have been your neighbors, your co-workers, your friends, and no one was afraid because no one knew. Until now, Vexith said. Until now, Minho agreed. The Thornian commander holstered his weapon slowly. The others followed his lead, though they still looked terrified. Vexith approached the armor again, but this time his movements were careful, almost respectful. The first destroyer was not one warrior, he said quietly. It was thousands, yes, and they are still alive? After 50,000 years? Humans live longer than most species realize, Yuna explained. With proper medical care, we can survive for many thousands of years. It is another thing we did not advertise. Your mother, Vexith said to Minho. Sora, she is really 78? In terms of how long she has been alive since her last age reset treatment, yes. In terms of how many years she has actually lived? Minho shrugged. I honestly do not know. She does not like talking about the old days. Vexith was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked the question that everyone was thinking. If humanity decided to go to war again, could anyone stop you? Minho and Yuna looked at each other. The answer was obvious to both of them. No, Yuna said honestly. If humanity wanted to conquer the galaxy, no one could stop us. Our technology is still thousands of years ahead of the current galactic standard. We have weapons sealed away that could destroy planets. We have ships in storage that could cross the galaxy in days. And we have 15 billion people who still remember how to fight. Then why do you not? Tixel asked. Why pretend to be weak? Because we are tired, Minho said. The words came from somewhere deep inside him, something that every human carried whether they had lived through the old wars or not. We have been tired for 50,000 years. Fighting is exhausting. Conquering is pointless. We just want to grow gardens and raise families and explore the universe without anyone shooting at us. That is it? Vexith sounded incredulous. The most powerful military force in galactic history gave up because they were tired? Yes, Yuna said simply. We were very, very tired. Vexith turned back to the armor. In the light of their helmet lamps, it looked less terrifying now. It just looked old, a relic from a war that everyone wanted to forget. We need to report this, Vexith said finally. The Galactic Council needs to know. We know, Minho agreed. And they will panic. Yes, they will. And some species will call for humanity to be quarantined or controlled or worse. Yes, they will. Minho looked at the armor again. His mother's armor. The thing she had worn when she killed billions of people in the name of justice and revenge. The thing she had sealed away here because she never wanted to use it again. This is going to be bad, he said quietly. Yes, Yuna agreed. This is going to be very bad. Vexith stared at Minho for a long moment. The Thornian's 4 arms crossed over his chest in a gesture that clearly meant he was not pleased. You want to make a personal call, now? We have just made the archaeological discovery of the millennium and you want to talk to your mother? Minho did not lower his scanner. The readings were still there, still impossible, still screaming the truth that he did not want to believe. Yes, sir. I really need to make this call. Absolutely not. We have work to do. You can call your family when we return to the ship. Vexith turned back to the armor, dismissing Minho entirely, but Yuna had known Minho for 5 years. They had worked together on a dozen expeditions, shared cramped quarters on transport ships, and survived a near-fatal equipment failure on a mining asteroid. She knew when he was serious. Commander, she said carefully. If Minho says he needs to make a call, there is probably a good reason. The reason can wait. Sir, I really think the matter is closed. Vexith gestured to the other team members. Begin documentation. I want every centimeter of this armor recorded. Photographs, scans, measurements, everything. The team moved to obey, though several kept their distance from the armor. Their fear was obvious even through their environment suits. Only Vexith seemed eager to approach the artifact. Minho backed away slowly. His mind was racing. The scanner readings could not be right. They had to be wrong. But he had checked twice, and the device was working perfectly, which meant the impossible was actually true. He needed to confirm it. He needed to know for certain. While Vexith was distracted with the armor, Minho slipped back toward the corridor. Yuna noticed and followed him. Once they were out of sight of the main chamber, she grabbed his arm. What is going on? She demanded in Korean. I cannot explain until I make the call. Minho, please, Yuna, trust me. Just give me 10 minutes. She studied his face through their helmet visors. Whatever she saw there must have convinced her because she nodded. 10 minutes. Then you tell me everything. Minho hurried back through the corridor and out onto the moon's surface. The ship was 100 meters away, sitting silent on the gray dust. He bounded toward it in the low gravity, each step carrying him several meters inside the ship. He pulled off his helmet and went straight to the communication console. His hands were shaking as he entered his mother's contact information. The call would take a few minutes to route through the relay stations, bouncing across light years of space to reach Earth. While he waited, Vex's voice crackled over the radio. "Minho, where did you go?" "Get back here immediately." Minho ignored him. The call connected, the screen flickered and then resolved into a video feed. It showed a small apartment on Earth, modest and comfortable. Sunlight streamed through a window where plants were growing on the sill. Vegetables, Minho realized. His mother had always loved growing vegetables. "Minho?" His mother's face appeared on screen. Sora was 78 years old, her hair gray and her face lined with age. She was wearing a simple dress and gardening gloves. "Is everything okay? You usually only call on weekends." "Hi, Mom." Minho's voice cracked slightly. "I need you to look at something for me. It is important." "Of course, dear." "What is it?" Minho held up his scanner, turning it so the camera could capture the screen. "These are readings from an artifact we just found." "Can you tell me what they mean?" Sora squinted at the screen. "Hold on, let me get my glasses." She disappeared for a moment, then returned with reading glasses perched on her nose. She leaned close to look at the scanner readings. Her expression changed from curious to confused to something Minho could not quite identify. "Where did you find this?" she asked quietly. "A sealed moon called Calith-9. Mom, the readings say—" "I know what they say." She removed her glasses and rubbed her eyes. "Can you show me the actual artifact?" "Not just the scanner." Minho switched his communicator to camera mode and brought up the photos he had taken of the armor. He held the device up so his mother could see. Sor stared at the image. Her mouth opened slightly. Then she started laughing. "Mom? Are you okay?" "Oh ho," she said, switching from Korean to Galactic Common. "That is my old armor." The words hit Minho like a physical blow. He had suspected it. The scanner had told him it was true, but hearing his mother say it out loud made it real in a way that terrified him. "Your armor?" he repeated weakly. "Yes, I thought I lost that in the Andromeda sector about 50,000 years ago. I looked everywhere for it." "Where did you say you found it?" "Calith-9, Mom. There are warnings all over this place. 17 different languages all saying the same thing. Here lies the first destroyer." Sora's expression shifted to embarrassment. "Oh, they found that vault. I told the others we should have been more clear about the warnings. But everyone was so dramatic back then." "Mom, what are you talking about?" Before Sora could answer, Vex's voice boomed over the radio. "Minho! Return to the excavation immediately, or I will have you removed from this expedition." "I am coming, sir," Minho called back. Then to his mother, "Do not go anywhere. I will call you back." "Be careful with that armor," Sora said. "There is still live ammunition in the left shoulder mount. It should be stable, but you never know after 50,000 years." Minho ended the call and sat in silence for a moment. His mother. His sweet, gentle mother who grew tomatoes and complained about her arthritis and made the best kimchi in their neighborhood. That same woman had just casually mentioned that the most feared artifact in galactic history was her old work equipment. He put his helmet back on and made his way back to the vault. Yuna was waiting for him at the entrance. "Well?" she asked. "I will explain inside. Everyone needs to hear this." They returned to the main chamber. Vexith was standing very close to the armor now, using a handheld scanner to examine the helmet. The other team members were taking photographs from every angle. "Minho," Vexith said without looking at him, "since you have finally decided to rejoin us, perhaps you can use your engineering expertise to tell us about this power core. It appears to still be active after 50,000 years, which should be impossible." Minho approached slowly. "Commander, before we go any further, I need to tell you something." "About the armor. What about it?" "I know who it belonged to." That got everyone's attention. Vexith turned to face him fully. "That is impossible. The first destroyer was never identified. No records exist. I just spoke to her. On the phone. She is my mother." The silence that followed was absolute. No one moved. No one spoke. Minho could hear his own breathing inside his helmet, then Tixil started laughing nervously. That is a joke, right? Humans have such strange humor. It is not a joke, Minho said quietly. Vexith's skin darkened from purple to almost black. You are telling me that your mother is the first destroyer? The warrior who destroyed 3 civilizations? The most feared legend in galactic history is an old woman living on Earth? Yes, sir, that is insane. She recognized the armor immediately. She even told me where the ammunition is stored. Vexith stared at him for a long moment. Then he started laughing. It was not a pleasant sound. This is absurd. Humans have only been part of galactic society for 200 years. The first destroyer was active 50,000 years ago. The timeline does not work. Unless humans lied about when they developed space travel, Yuna said softly. Everyone turned to look at her. She was staring at the armor with a strange expression on her face. We have been in space longer than we told you, she continued. Much longer. We just did not mention it when we joined the galactic community. Vexith's 4 hands began reaching for his weapon. Explain now. The transport ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a shudder that made everyone on board grab onto something stable. Minho felt his stomach lurch as the view outside the window shifted from the streaking lights of hyperspace to the dark, still emptiness of normal space. There it is, Commander Vexith announced from the front of the passenger bay. His 4 arms gestured toward the window where a small, gray moon hung against the backdrop of distant stars. Caliph 9, sealed for 50,000 years. Minho pressed his face closer to the window. The moon looked dead. No lights, no movement, no signs of life at all. Just rock and dust and ancient secrets. He had worked on dozens of archaeological expeditions since joining the galactic community, but this one felt different. This one felt wrong in a way he could not quite explain. Why was it sealed? Asked Yuna from the seat beside him. She was typing notes into her datapad, her fingers moving quickly across the holographic keyboard. As the expedition's linguist, she had spent the last 3 months studying every scrap of information about Caliph 9 they could find. Which was not much. Vexith turned his large head toward them. His skin was deep purple, and his eyes were solid black orbs that reflected the cabin lights. The Thornians were one of the older species in the galaxy, with a civilization that stretched back almost 100,000 years. If anyone knew the history of places like Caliph 9, it would be them. No one remembers exactly, Vexith said. His voice was deep and rumbling like distant thunder. The records from that era are incomplete. Wars destroyed most of them. But every species that was alive back then agreed on one thing. This place needed to stay closed. Why open it now then? Minho asked. Vexith's expression was hard to read, but Minho thought he saw something like greed flash across those dark eyes. Because the Galactic Council has finally given permission. And because I have spent my entire career studying the legends of the old empires. Whatever is down there could rewrite everything we know about that period of history. The ship began its descent toward the moon's surface. Minho watched as the gray landscape grew larger in the window. He could see craters and mountains and vast plains of dust. No atmosphere, no water, no life. Just a dead rock floating in space. The landing was smooth. The pilot, a nervous Equalari named Tixil, had done this 1,000 times before. The ship settled onto a flat area near what their scans had identified as an artificial structure buried beneath the surface. Equipment check, Vexith ordered as the cabin depressurized. We will be working in vacuum conditions. Double-check your suits? Minho stood and grabbed his helmet from the overhead compartment. His suit was human-made, designed to be simple and reliable. It was not as fancy as the Thornian military suits or as expensive as the Quelari environmental gear, but it worked. That was what mattered. Yuna was already suited up beside him. You feel it too, don't you? She whispered in Korean so the translators would not pick it up. Feel what? Minho asked, though he knew exactly what she meant. That something is wrong here. He nodded slowly. Yeah, I feel it. The airlock cycled open, and the team stepped out onto the surface of Caliph 9, The gravity was light, about half of Earth's standard. Minho bounced slightly with each step as they made their way toward the excavation site. Vexith had sent advance teams 3 weeks ago to begin the initial dig. They had uncovered the entrance to an underground structure, something massive built into the moon's crust. The entrance was sealed with a door made of material that none of their scans could identify. It did not match any known alloy or composite dot. As they approached, Minho saw the door for the first time in person. It was huge, at least 50 meters tall and just as wide. The surface was covered in writing. Hundreds of different scripts and languages, all carved deep into the metal. Can you read any of it? Vexith asked Yuna. She approached the door slowly, her scanner held up to record everything. Some of it. This section here is Old Thornian. This part is Quillari First script. This looks like ancient Calvorian. She moved along the door, her helmet light illuminating different sections. There are at least 17 different languages here. What do they say? Yuna was quiet for a long moment, reading. When she spoke again, her voice was tight. They all say the same thing. Different words, but the same message. Which is? Here lies death. Here sleeps the first destroyer. Let the grave remain sealed. The words hung in the vacuum between them. The first destroyer. Every species in the galaxy knew that name. It was the boogeyman, the monster from the old stories, the thing parents used to scare children into behaving. The warrior who had destroyed 3 entire civilizations 50,000 years ago. The one who had never been defeated, never been captured, never been stopped. The one who had simply vanished, leaving behind only death and ruins. The first destroyer is a myth, said Tixil over the communication channel. A story. Nothing more. Myths have to start somewhere, Vexith replied. He approached the door and placed one of his hands against it. Open it. Sir, the warnings, one of the other team members began, are 50,000 years old, Vexith interrupted. Whatever was dangerous back then is dead now. Open the door. The team set up the cutting equipment. It took them 6 hours to breach the seal. The door was incredibly thick and resistant to their tools. But eventually, with enough power and patience, they cut through. The door swung inward on hinges that should have been frozen solid after 50 millennia but moved smoothly as if they had been oiled yesterday. Beyond was darkness. Deep, perfect darkness that their lights seemed to barely penetrate. Vexith was the first to step through. Minho and Yuna followed along with the rest of the 12-person team. They walked down a long corridor carved from the moon's rock. The walls were smooth and unmarked, except for more warnings written in dead languages. The corridor opened into a chamber. A massive, circular room with a domed ceiling at least 100 meters above their heads. And in the center of the chamber, lit by their combined helmet lights, stood a single pedestal. On the pedestal was a suit of armor. It was smaller than Minho had expected. Human-sized, actually. The armor was black, so black it seemed to absorb their lights rather than reflect them. It was covered in scorch marks and dents and what looked like dried blood. If blood could come in 17 different colors, the armor radiated something. Not heat or radiation that their scanners could detect, but something that made Minho's instincts scream at him to run. To leave this place and never come back. He looked around at the other team members. The aliens were all frozen, their body language screaming terror even through their suits. Every species' survival instincts were telling them the same thing: danger, predator, death. But Minho just felt curious. And a little bit confused. Is that it? Tixil whispered. The first destroyer's armor? It has to be, Vexith said. He sounded awed. Look at it. 50,000 years and it is perfect. Not a speck of dust? Not a trace of decay? Minho approached the pedestal slowly. He pulled out his engineering scanner and pointed it at the armor. The device hummed as it analyzed the artifact. Then it beeped. And Minho's blood ran cold. What is it? Yuna asked, noticing his sudden stillness. Minho stared at the readings on his scanner. He ran the analysis again. Same result? He checked the device's calibration. Everything was working correctly. Minho? Yuna pressed. He looked up at the armor. At the black metal that drank in their lights. At the dried blood of 100 different species. At the weapon mounts and the power core housing and the helmet with its dark, empty visor. I need to make a call, he said quietly. What? I need to call home. Right now. Vexith turned toward him. This is not the time for personal. I need to call my mother, Minho interrupted. His voice was shaking. I need to call her right now,